Alright, today we're going to be covering 8.3, which is multiplying polynomials. We'll look at binomial with binomial, we'll look at binomials with trinomials, and really these methods would work for anything. The two main methods we're going to look at is the distributive method and the table method. I actually prefer the distributive method. You will sometimes see the acronym FOIL with that one. But FOIL only works if you have a binomial with a binomial, so I actually don't prefer that one. I prefer we use distributive. But for the sake of knowing what FOIL stands for, it means that you would multiply the first terms, the outer terms, the inner terms, and the last terms, which is basically what you do when you distribute, so it is the same thing. The other method we have is the table method. It's a good method, but it is a little tedious because you have to make like almost a tic-tac-toe table every time you do it. So I do find it easier to work with the other way. But we'll go ahead and look at it, and you guys can kind of pick and choose. But again, I think the distributive one is probably the best one for us to use and the one that I will use the most of the time. But we will look at both of them here. Okay, so for example 1, you have 3 problems that we are going to do. Okay, with the FOIL or distributive method. The first one is x minus 6 times 4x plus 3. Okay, so we really are just going to distribute. So the first thing we will do is we will distribute the first term, x, to both of those pieces. So x times 4x will give us 4x squared. X times 3 will give us 3x. Then we're going to distribute the negative 6 to both of them. So we'll end up with negative 24x and minus 18. Then you want to look for any like terms that you could combine together. The two in the middle are like terms. So we will end up with 4x squared minus 21x minus 18 as our final answer. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting, do not combine things if they do not have the same exponent and the same base. Okay? Look at another one here. Okay, next one we've got is 2x minus 5 times 3x minus 7. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the same thing. We'll distribute the first term to both of those. So we'll end up with a 6x squared minus 14x. And then we'll distribute the negative 5. It really doesn't matter what order you distribute in, but I find that to be the easiest way for students to do it. Okay, again, look for your like terms. You have the 2 in the middle. So you will end up with 6x squared minus 29x plus 35 as your final answer for this one. Okay? And that was B. Okay, and then we'll do one more here with C. You'll notice this one has an extra exponent in it. Not going to change anything though. It doesn't matter. We can still go about it the exact same way. Okay, so for C, you're going to have x plus 4 and 2x squared minus 1. So we'll go ahead and distribute the x to both of them. This time we'll end up with 2x to the third minus x, and then we'll distribute the 4. So we'll end up with 8x squared minus 4. Look for any like terms. We do not have any here, but we do have to make sure it's in standard form. Okay, so we want the 2x to the third first, then the 8x squared, then the x, and then the 4. Again, making sure we keep the correct signs with each of those. Okay, so that would be the distribute / FOIL method. Again, I'm not a big fan of FOIL. Would prefer you call it the distributive method when we work with that one. But just in case you do see FOIL somewhere. Okay, the other method we have then is the table method. Okay, so for the table method, like I said, we're basically going to end up making a tic-tac-toe table. Okay, so for the first one, you've got 3x plus 1 times x plus 4. Okay, so make your tic-tac-toe table here. And you're going to take one of the binomials, it doesn't matter which one, and it's going to go down the side. Now you will never put anything in that top left corner, so you can just cross that one off, and then I'd have 3x and 1 for my two terms, and x and 4 for my two terms. And then what you're going to do is multiply the two that go together to make the new box. Okay, so for this box it'd be a combination of 3x and x, so that would be 3x squared. This box would be 3x and 4, so that would be 12x. This box would be 1 and x, and this box would be 1 and 4. Okay, so then for your final answer, you want to take these four terms, combine the like ones. Again, always making sure it's in standard form. So we'd have the 3x squared, we'd have the 13x, and we would have the 4 as our final answer. So not bad, does take a little more space, I guess, when it comes to that. But if you like that method, you may use that one. It makes no difference to me. Okay, we'll look at that one a couple more times here. Okay, next one we have is 2x minus 5 times x minus 13. So we'll go ahead and make our tic-tac-toe table here. Again, nothing in the top left. 2x and minus 5, make sure you keep the sign with it. X and minus 13, again being careful with those signs. Okay, so this box would be a 2x squared. This box would be a negative 26x, negative 5x, and positive 65. So again, go ahead and combine those ones, just making sure you get them in the right order. So you'd end up with 2x squared minus 31x plus 65. Okay. And we'll do one more here, and then we'll look at what do I do with a trinomial and a binomial next. So for C, we have 3x to the third plus 1. And we have 4x minus 2. So again, go ahead and make your tic-tac-toe table. So I have a 3x cubed and a 1, a 4x, and a negative 2. So if I multiply these two, I get 12x to the fourth. Multiply these, I get negative 6x to the third. I get 4x. And I get negative 2. Okay, again, make sure they're in the right form. You'll get 12x to the fourth. You'll end up getting a negative 6x to the third, a 4x, and a minus 2. So none of those were like terms, so we'll just leave them all separate from each other. All right, next what we need to do is we need to simplify if we have a binomial and a trinomial. Okay, so for this one you have 2x minus 6 and you have an x squared plus 3x plus 4. Now, you can do this one either by the distributive method or the table method as well. I'll do A by the distributive method, I'll do B by the table method, so you can kind of see how they do both work. Okay, so first thing I need to do is distribute my 2x to everything. Okay, so I end up with a 2x to the third, I end up with a 6x squared, and I end up with an 8x. Okay, then I want to distribute my negative 6 to everything. Now, I like to put the like terms underneath each other. To me, that makes it easier to match them up in the next step. Completely up to you if you want to go this way or if you want to do it like I'm going to. So negative 6x squared would go with my x squared. Negative 6 and 3x would give me a negative 18x. Negative 6 and 4 would give me a negative 24. So now it makes it easy to combine my like terms because they're all lined up with each other. So I end up with 2x to the third. Those would just cancel each other out. I'd get a negative 10x and a minus 24 as my final answer. Okay, so again, just distributing, you do not have to line them up vertically. I think it's easier, but it's completely up to you if you don't want to do it that way. Okay, and then the last one we have, we're going to do in table form here. So for this one, we have 5x squared minus 3x plus 1. And I have x minus 3. So I am going to have to make an extra either column or row. It's kind of up to you which one you want to do here. But I need an extra space for it. Okay, so I don't need to use this one. I'm going to go 5x squared minus 3x and 1, x and minus 3. So go ahead and do the same thing, just 6 boxes instead of 4 that I need to fill in. So I'd end up with 5x to the third, negative 3x squared, x, negative 15x squared, 9x, and negative 3. Okay, so then just want to take the ones that are like terms. So I only have 1 to the third. I have the 2 squared ones, which will give me negative 18x squared. X and 9x give me 10x, and then I'll have a minus 3 in standard form. Okay, so again, it's up to you. If you like the distributive method, go ahead and use that one. If you prefer the table method, you can go ahead and use that one as well. All right, last thing that we have for today is dealing with area. Okay, so dealing with area and polynomials, so this would be example 4. So for example 4, it says, what is the area of a rectangle that has a length of 2x plus 1 and a width of 5x minus 2? Make sure the answer is in standard form. So we're dealing with area. Okay, so area is always length times width when dealing with a rectangle. Okay, so we want to plug in our pieces. It tells us that our length is 2x plus 1. And it tells me that my width is 5x minus 2. Your choice, whichever method you would like, but go ahead and multiply those out. I'm going to do distributive method. So I'm going to get 10x squared minus 4x. I'm going to get 5x minus 2. The 2 in the middle are like terms, so I will combine those together and end up with our area and our final answer. Okay, so that's multiplying binomials and trinomials. Hopefully you found this lesson helpful. Hopefully you're staying healthy, okay, and hopefully we're back in school before we know it. Make sure you get your assignment done. Make sure you get your Google assignment done. You can always email me if you do have any questions. I'll be checking that periodically throughout the day and then once or twice in the evenings as well. All right, have a good night.